Hi, my name is Kelly Chow, and today I will be talking about the popular science article Experimental Brain-Computer Interface Translates Brain Signals into Recognizable Speech. The bioinformatics method used in this article is deep neural networks, and my audience is the BIMM143 students. So the scientific question investigated in this article was, can neural activity be used to reconstruct speech from the human auditory cortex? And the hypothesis was that the intelligibility of auditory stimulus reconstruction can be increased by using advances in deep learning and speech synthesis technologies. Before we delve deeper into deep neural networks, we should first learn some key terms. There are many different representations of human speech. Two of these representations are shown on the pictures to the right. The top picture features a vocoder, which is an instrument that analyzes and synthesizes human speech, which can then be used for audio data compression, voice encryption, voice transformation, or even used as an electronic music instrument. Another representation of human speech is an auditory spectrogram, which is shown in the bottom image. This is a picture of sound frequencies. The image shows frequency, time, and power as variables in one graph with lighter colors to indicate weaker signals and darker colors to indicate stronger signals. In addition, other key terms include a deep neural network, which models the structure and function of the brain. It consists of multiple layers between the input and output layers. Each layer is made up of neurons with synapses and activation functions connecting them. One popular activation function is used for deep neural networks is the sigmoid function, which is a mathematical function that looks like an S-shaped curve. The sigmoid function will be used in the Keras model we'll see later, which is a bioinformatics model that groups layers into an object with training and inference features. There are three factors that affect speech reconstruction accuracy. The first is the regression technique, either using a linear regression or using a nonlinear deep neural network regression. Second is the representation of speech. We can use auditory spectrograms or speech vocoder parameters. And the last is the neural frequency range, either by using a low frequency or versus a high gamma envelope. The experiment discovered that the deep neural network vocoder system sounds the closest to natural speech, and it accurately reported the gender of speaker compared to the other methods. Intelligibility also increased by 65% when comparing results from using the deep neural network model versus linear regression. So why is this important? Speech recognition can help accomplish many important achievements. The ultimate goal is to help people who have lost their ability to speak by creating a direct communication pathway to the brain. An additional benefit is through technology like Amazon Echo and Apple Siri. Having voice-activated technology can be very useful when it's inconvenient for someone to use their hands. Previous research have used many representations of speech, such as auditory spectrograms and speech vocoder parameters. They have also been represented by discrete units like phonemes, phonetic categories, and words. However, different representations of speech will produce varying results of accuracy. For example, discrete units don't capture important aspects of speech, such as emotion and intonations. On the other hand, reconstructing continuous speech will give real-time continuous feedback, and this makes it easier for the brain-computer interface algorithm to adapt and gain better accuracy. One limitation of the study is that it requires an actual human to read out all the words in order for the neural network to learn, which is time-consuming and hard work. Another limitation is that the deep neural network model is not perfect, and a better regression in the future could be found to be used as discoveries are always continuing to be made. In Figure 3 from the original research article, we are able to compare the results of using different representations of speech and linear versus nonlinear deep neural network regression on accuracy. In the experiment, participants listened to digit sounds spoken by two male and female speakers. They were then randomly assigned to four groups of light blue representing linear regression with auditory spectrogram representation, purple on the graph representing linear regression with vocoder representation, pink representing nonlinear deep neural network regression with auditory spectrogram, and red representing nonlinear deep neural network regression with vocoder representation. They then reported the digit, the quality of the speech on a scale, and which gender they thought the speaker was. In all three aspects, the deep neural network vocoder design, shown in red, had the most accuracy and the highest opinion score. The bottom four diagrams illustrate the digit confusion patterns by comparing the actual digits versus what the participants perceived. As the last deep neural network vocoder has a clear diagonal line, we can conclude it had the least amount of confusion. This example code of using the Keras model for deep neural networks is from machinelearningmastery.com. The first 3 lines of code import packages from NumPy and the Keras model. The NumPy library contains mathematical functions we will use later, and the Keras model contains the sequential class so we can use linear layers for the deep neural network, and the dense import that lets us connect these layers. Line 6 loads the data from a file, which in this case is pimaindiansdiabetes.csv. It loads all the text from a file into a variable called dataset using the comma as the delimiter to separate different values. These different values are then stored in a 2D array by splitting into the input data in line 8 and the output data in line 9. The first 8 columns are stored into the x variable as the inputs, and the 9th column is stored into the y variable as the output. Line 11 initializes the sequential model, while lines 12 through 14 each add a layer of neurons. Input din specifies how many input variables the model is expecting, which in this case is 8. The first parameter indicates how many neurons are in the layer, and the last parameter indicates which activation function the layer uses. We will use the ReLU activation function for the first 2 layers, which achieves better performance, and the sigmoid function for the output layer because the output will only be a 0 or 1 in our case, which is easy to map. Line 15 compiles the Keras model. The loss function evaluates how well the algorithm models the dataset. So for the loss function, we will use cross entropy, which is typically used for binary classification problems. The optimizer selects the best option, so we will use a gradient descent algorithm called ATOM, which in this case gives good results in a wide range of problems. And since this is a classification problem with zeros and ones, we want to report the accuracy, so we will define it as the metrics argument. Line 18 fits the model on the dataset. Since training occurs over epochs, which is one pass through all the rows, and each epoch is split into batches or samples, in our case, we want to use 150 epochs and a small batch size of 10. We can then use line 20 to evaluate the model and save them in a variable called accuracy. With line 21, we can calculate and print out the accuracy of each row. Some questions we can think about for the future are, what advantages does using the Keras model have? What disadvantages does using the Keras model have? And how would deep neural networks be implemented without using the Keras model?